Hi, welcome to my video on review 2 of logs and natural logarithms, and the videos are from numbers 10 to 18, and as in all reviews you can treat it as a quiz where you can give yourself a score on each question, total up the pages, and when you're finished with the score over 68, divide 68 into your score and you get a decimal, and move your decimal 2 places to the right to get a percent, and hopefully everything will go well. Let's start with the first question. Again, remind that all questions are in order according to the videos. F of x equals e to the x plus 2 minus 1. This is an exponential, so the inverse of an exponential is a log, so we're going to write it in terms of ln. So we take the f of x and change it to a y. This is what you do when you do the inverse of any function. And you change the y to an x and an x to a y. Because it's when you find the inverse, you always reflect in the line y equals x. So y is x, x is y. Now we'll solve for y. Since y is an exponent, I'll move the x to the left side, make it positive. And now I'll do the ln of each side. And the ln enables the exponent of y plus 2 to come down to the front. So I have the ln of x plus 1 equals y plus 2 times ln e. And the ln of x plus 1 equals, ln of e is 1, so 1 times y plus 2 is y plus 2. And that means you have ln of x plus 1 minus 2 equals y. So y is by itself, so y equals ln x plus 1 minus 2. And since this is the f of x, so this is the f to the negative 1. So it's inverse. So the inverse of an exponential, of this exponential, this is ln. And before when I did them, I did it in terms of ln, but now since we have studied, gone over the ln, natural logarithms, we can do it in terms of ln. So now let's graph both of these functions. So this is the f of x equals e to the x plus 2 minus 1, this one here. And I'm going to do x and y in this table of values. So we have y equals e to the x plus 2 minus 1. So I'm going to take a negative 3. Notice that the y values, this is a growth curve. The base here, e, is 2.72 approximately. So this is a growth curve, so the asymptote is negative 1. So the y's, all y's will be greater than negative 1. So if I take a negative 3 and plug it in, use my calculator, I get a negative decimal 0.06. And I plug in a negative 2, I will get 2 in here. It gives me 0, e to the 0 is 1, so I'll end up with a 0. Put in a negative 1, I get e to the 1 minus 1 becomes 1.7, and I put in a 0, and a 0 gives me right here e squared minus 1 is 6.4, and if I put in a 1, and e cubed minus 1 is roughly 19.1. So let's graph that, and to graph that on this table here, in this grid, x is negative 3, which is here, y is, and negative 1 is here, so it's approximately right here. X is negative 2, y is 0. X is negative 1, y is 1.7, so this is approximately there. X is 0, y is 6.4, so let's say right there. And x is 1, y is 19, so that's way up here. So notice I said that this is an exponential, so the asymptote is -1. So that means y, it's a horizontal asymptote because exponentials got horizontal asymptotes right here is a broken line. So that's y equals -1. So the graph comes towards that, goes up through like this, goes on up. Notice there's a growth curve, and this is the exponential. Now, what I'm going to do is use a different pen here and do the graph of the inverse in red. But what I know is that this is an x and a y. So if I take the f to the -1 of x, which is equal to ln x plus 1 minus 2. So this is the inverse, f to the -1. So I know, because I have this table done, that I can switch the x's. So this is 0, -0.6, 0, 1.7, 6.4, roughly 19.1. And the y is -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. But if you did notice that the asymptote here is y equals -1, and there's a y value in relation to an exponential, or this is an exponential, so the asymptote is y equals -1. This is the ln, so that means that x plus 1 got to be greater than 0. That means x got to be greater than -1. So you can see I could put, say, probably if I didn't do the inverse of the table, I would put in a -0.5, 0, 1, 2, etc. But because I switched the table, then I'm just going to graph the reverse here. So, but the x has to be greater than -1. That means that there's x, this is x equals -1. So that's an asymptote. Here's the asymptote. Notice the asymptote is y equals -1 here. So because you switch the asymptote and the ln is x equals -1. So we'll plot these points. -0.6 is here. Y is -3. X is 0, y is -2. X is 0, y is -2. X is 1.7. Right here, y is -1. Again, as approximation. And x is 6.4, y is 0. 6.4 roughly, y is 0. And x is 19, which is way over here, and we have a 1. So you can see that this is the inverse, and I have it in red. So notice the points are switched. -3, x is -3, y is -0.6, x is -0.6, y is -3. And the reason for that, the inverse is the reflection in the line, and I'm going to do the asymptote in green. So the asymptote is, when I say asymptote now, this is the line y equals x. I said asymptote, but that's wrong. This is the line y equals x. X is 1, y is 1, x is 2, y is 2, x is 3, y is 3, 0, 0. So the reflection of this curve into this line gives you this, which is the f to the -1. So I just wanted to bring that out. And in relation to the f of x, which is the exponential, the domain right here, you can use any value of x, so x belongs to the reals. The range for this exponential is y is greater than -1, and the asymptote is y equals -1. And for the inverse, f to the -1, they're switched. So the y belongs to the reals, or sorry, so this is x belongs to the reals, so switch is the ranges, y belongs to the reals. And the domain is x is greater than 0. So x is y is x, they switch, and the asymptote is x equals -1. Y equals x, so we switch. So notice the switch, the domain is always the x's, the range is always the y's. So the range for f of x becomes, the domain of f of x becomes the range of f to the -1, and the range becomes domain. So you can see how the switching goes in relation to y equals x. And some marks here, I didn't assign the marks, so if you did this one, you got 1 mark. If you did this, you got a mark. And if you did this equation right here, you got a mark. There's 6 marks in total here. Come down to here, that's 5, and you worked your way to here, you got 6. So 6 marks altogether. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you get f of x equals the ln of x plus 1 minus 2, give yourself 6 marks. If you did the table of values correctly, give yourself 2 marks, and 2 marks here. And if you did the graph of each correctly, you give yourself 6 marks. And if you got each of these right, give yourself 6 more marks. So that's 18 for that page. Number 2, solve for x in terms of e. That's the number e. So first of all, we have to move log base e. So the 1/2 goes to the power of 9. So 9 to the 1/2 is 3. So if you have that done, you always do the power rule first. So 9 to the 1/2 is a 3. Now we have 2 logs. The sum of 2 logs is the log of the product. So we have 3 times x minus 2. The sum of 2 logs is the log of the product. And now we have it's a log, so we change it to an exponential. So base is e, exponent is 4, and the number is 3 times x minus 2. So we're trying to solve for x, so we divide by 3. So 3 divided into e to the 4 is 1/3 e to the 4. 3 into 3 goes once, and so x equals 1/3 e to the 4th plus 2. So if you want to rewrite it and with x first, so you can see I now have x in terms of e. So if you did this step, you get a mark. If you the sum of 2 logs is the log of the product, you get a mark. If you rewrote the log into an exponential, you get a mark. And if you solved it for this, 4 marks altogether. Number 3, find t to the nearest unit. So t is in the exponent, so the first thing I'll do is divide by 2,000. So divide by 2,000. That cancels, so I get e to the 0.12t, and zeros cancel, so 42 divided by 2 is 21. Now we can either do a log or we can do a ln, either one. So we can do log to 0. Like that as the log of 21, or we can go do ln, because since you have studied ln, we can do the ln of each side or the log of each side, either or. But it makes no difference which way you go, you're still going to do the same steps. So it's going to be 0.12 t is ln e equals ln, that's a 21, or you can get 0.12 t ln e equals ln 2. No matter which way you do it, then t is equal to the ln of 21 divided by 0.12 ln e, or here, the ln of e is 1, so you get 0.12t equals ln 2, so t is equal to ln 2 over 0.12. Both of these, no matter which way you go, will give you the 25.4, and so to the nearest unit, the answer is 25. So this one works out whatever way you want to do it. You want to do it LOG or you want to do it LN, your choice. But there's 6 marks, so if you did divide it by 2000, you get the 21. If you did the ln, you got the right here. If you change the to power rule, moving the exponent in front, you get a mark. And if you did ln of e is 1, you got a mark. And if you come up to final, you got a mark. And you said t is 25, so there's 6 marks going through here. Number 4, if the f of x equals a half e to the x plus 4, find the inverse in terms of ln. So we want to find the inverse, so the f of x becomes a y. We'll find the inverse, so we switch the x's and the y's. So we made a y and x and y because of the reflection in the line y equals x. We move the x to the left to make it 4 to the left, make it negative. And now we multiply by 2 because we want to get it to the y. So 2 times a half is 1, so that's e to the y. 2 times x and 2 times 4. Now we have, because y is in the exponent, we'll do the ln of each side. And so we have the ln of 2x minus 8. Notice the 2x minus 8 is in the brackets, the ln of all of this binomial. So this is y ln e, because the exponent goes in front. And the ln of e is 1, so you get y equals ln 2x minus 8. And so the inverse is f to the negative 1 of x, that's what y is the ln of 2x minus 8. So that's the inverse. Make that ln. So that's the inverse. So this is exponential, this is a ln. The inverse of an exponential is, again, I did it in terms of ln, I could have did it in terms of log. But I asked to do it in terms of the ln. And there's 6 marks here, so if you wrote that step down, and I just worked my way through here, 2, if you did each of these steps as you go, and you rewrote it, you get 6 marks to the final answer. So that's 16 for that page. Hopefully everything is going well. Number 5, change e cubed equals 20.1 to a ln. So we'll do log. So the log, this is an exponential, so the base is 3. Oh, the base is 3. The base, what I said, the base is e, base, exponent, number. Because if you got a base, exponent, number, you go change it to a log, your base, and that's your exponent, and that's your number. So the base is e, the exponent is 3, and the number is 20.2. Now the ln of e, log, L-O-G, base e, is ln. So if you have this, and you change it to this, you get 2 marks. So I change it to LOG first. Change the exponential to a log form, and then the log base e is ln. Number 6, change to a single ln. So we always do the power rule first. So 2 goes to the power of x, and a half goes to the power of 25. So 25 to the 1/2 becomes 5. A subtraction is division, and addition is a multiplication. So this is the ln of, this is an addition, so we're going 5 times x squared, and a subtraction is the division. So if you have that, get yourself 2 marks, 1 for that and 1 for that. Evaluate means come up with an answer. So the ln of x to the power of 6 is a 6. E to the ln 2 is a 2. There's 2 rules that we went over in the previous videos. So 6 minus 2 is a 4. So 3 marks, 1 for 6, 1 for 2, and 1 for 4. Number 8, solve for x in terms of e. So what do we have? We have a ln, and we have the right side can be simplified. So the ln of x plus 6. This is 8 to the 1/3. Cube root of 8 is 2, or 8 to the 1/3 is the same as 2 cubed to the 1/3. You multiply these two, they cancel, you get a 2. 4 to the negative 2, 1/4 to the negative 2 is the same as 4 to the 2, because the negative flips the fraction, and that gives you 16. So this is the ln of x plus 6 equals 18. Now ln, we want it in terms of e, so ln is log base e. So we change ln, this is what I do, I change ln to log base e. Now I have e, x with an e, so base is e, exponent is 18, and my number is x plus 6. And we're solving for x, so x equals e to the 18 minus 6. And we're going to write it with the x first. And we have 5 marks for this answer. So if you have the 2 of these, if you have this, you get a mark. If you have 18, you get a mark. If you change ln to log base e, you get a mark. If you wrote an exponential, you get a mark. If you solved it for x correctly, 5 marks altogether, and 12 for that page. Now let's continue. Again, just extra questions, extra thinking. Solve for x in terms of e. Notice we have a ln x cubed equals 4 ln x, so I'm going to let ln x equal a. So that's a cubed equals 4a. I have a cubic, so I'll move the a's to the left side, equals 0. That's a negative. Notice we have a cubic is 3 answers, so I have a as a common factor. So take a out, I get a squared minus 4. A is the GCF. And I have a quadratic. I have the difference of 2 squares. So a squared minus 4 is a plus 2 minus 2, the difference of 2 squares. So that means I have a is equal to 0. I have a plus 2 is equal to 0, or a minus 2 is equal to 0. So here a is 0, right here a is negative 2, and right here a is 2. So if a is 0, that means a is ln x equals 0. So a is ln x. So if ln x equals 0, so we have ln e x equals 0. So e to the 0 equals x. So x equals 1. And we have another one. We have right here, we have the ln of x is equal to negative 2. So again, log base e x equals negative 2. So e base exponent number. So x is reciprocal 1 over e squared. And we have the ln x is equal to 2. A is 2. So we have log of x base e equals 2. So e squared equals x. And notice we have all the answers. So we have x is 1. We have x is e to the negative 2, or 1 over e squared. And we have e squared. So we have everything done. So I assign the marks this way. I give a mark here, and I give a mark for this one. I give a mark for each of those, and I give a mark for each of those answers. If you have all these answered correctly, you have 8. Number 10, find the value of x as a radical in simplest form. So I'm always varying it, making it different. So we got to find x as a radical. What we got to do is simplify. So we have a 9. So e to the ln 1, that becomes e to the ln 1 is 1. So e to ln whatever this number is, this is equal to 1. If you use your calculator and got e and raise it to ln 1, the ln of 1 is a 0, so e to the 0 is 1. And we square first, we get a 4. 7 minus 4 is 3. And we have the ln of e squared is a 2. So now we're dealing with this exponent, so we have a 1/3. So 1/8 times 2, 2's cancel, we get a 4, so that's a 1/4. And 1/4 has a base LCD, base LCD of 12. So 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So that's 9 to the 7 over 12. Now we have to write it as a radical. So 9 is 3 squared. So that gives us 2 into 12 goes 6. So that gives us 3 to the 7 over 12. And let's go up here. So that gives us the 6th root of 3 to the 7. So the 6th root, the denominator is your root, and the 7 is your power of 3. So 3 to the 7 is 3 to the 6 times 3 to the 1. So the 6th root of 3 to the 6 times the 6th root of 3 to the 1. The 6th root of 3 to the 6 is a 3. And the 6th root of 3 can't be simplified any further. So we have it as a radical in simplest form. And we have 7 marks. So we 1 for 1, 1 for the 3, 1 for the 2. And we have, you multiply 1/8 by 2 to get the 1/4, another mark. If you added these correctly, another mark. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you simplified the 9 to here, and you got 3 to the 7 over 6, another mark. If you got the final answer in simplest radical form, 7 marks, total of 15 for that page. And I try to get different questions to help you think, because math is all about thinking and giving you different questions to work with. Now, number 11, solve for x in terms of e. Notice this time we have, in the previous videos, I did the absolute value. Now I have an absolute value that's less than 3. So the way I do it, I go ln x plus 1 is less than 3 with a negative, and the ln of x plus 1 less than 3 with a positive. So I do the negative of this expression, I do the positive of the expression. I do not change this sign. This sign is less than, less than. But when we have a less than, that's in between, so we have an and. If this was a greater than 3, it would have been an or. So the negative of it and the positive of it. Notice the inequality is less than, less than. Now I divide by a negative, so I get the ln of x plus 1. When you divide negative into positive, you get a -3, and the inequality changes to a greater than. And we have an and still here. An and means intersection, so we don't change this one. So ln is log base e. Ln is log base e. Now we write, again, which way do we go? E to the -3 is greater than x plus 1. What happens is that the x plus 1, this number here is always greater than this one. So x plus 1 is always greater than the -3. So x plus 1 is greater than, it's greater than e to the -3. And x plus 1 is less than e to the 3. So I change this to an exponential. But again, it's the x plus 1. This number here is always greater than the power. If you think about it, if you had the log e and I had a 24 here, so e, this power of e would be like a 3 or a 4. So this would be smaller. This number right here would be smaller than this, if you think about it. So that's why I'm going with the x plus 1 first. So this is x is greater than e to the -3 minus 1. And again, it's an and. I keep putting the and down. And x is less than e cubed minus 1. Because it's an and, that means the x is between these two numbers. So that means that e to the -3 minus 1 less than x less than e cubed minus 1, that's the answer in terms of e. And if you hopefully, because this is the way I explained absolute values in my Algebra 2 unit on inequalities, absolute value of inequalities, or inequalities with absolute value. I always did them this way. I find this much easier to do. Check on that unit. And just to check it out is that, well, I'll give yourself some marks first. So if you have this line, you get a mark. If you have this one, you get a mark. So each of these there's 7 marks here. And then if you did this one, so you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all together if you have this final. And how do I know? If you take a calculator and go e to the -3 minus 1, that's approximately a -1. Oh, and if you go e cubed minus 1, that's approximately 19. So that's why this number here is less than this one, because obviously e cubed is bigger than e to the -3, because e to the -3, e is 2.72 cubed to -3, so you're going to get a small number, so that's 1 over 2.7 cubed, so you can see that's a smaller number. So this is right here, e cubed is 2.7 cubed minus 1, so this is a larger number. So if you took a calculator and changed this, you get roughly around a negative, not because that's -1, close to -1, and here is close to 19, so that's why it's in between. This number is smaller than this, so we write it as a less than. And that's 7 marks. And if you total up all your pages and you go back to the first question, first sheet I should say, first sheet, put your mark over 68, find out what score you have. Hopefully you got it all right. If you didn't, go back and look at some of your videos again and get your percentage. So that brings us to the end of the video. And if you like my video, like the review, click on the like button. If you're not a subscriber and you wish to subscribe, click on the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content that's on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video was of some help to you. Bye bye.